Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jami.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives.
Welcome back to another episode of FitBody Lifestyle. We are so happy you joined us, and we are going to be talking about posing A to Z from our resident expert here, Phoebe Hagan.
Hello, guys.
Welcome, Phoebe. We're so happy to have you back for our second episode here. Of course, I'm here with my partner in crime.
Hello. Boy.
Your accent sounds better in my ears, kind of.
Hanging around you.
I don't know. You're being very kind.
Yes, she is.
I know I am.
Very kind. All right. So, Phoebe, let's start out with your check-in word.
Oh, for this one. Okay. Oh, I forgot to figure one out. Okay.
Good. I know. I wanted to catch you.
I know.
I wanted to catch you off
I
guard.
thought of one in the car, and now I'm like, oh no, I forgot about that other one. Oh no, this is hard. This is hard when I'm not prepared.
Well, we're going to be diving into everything posing.
I know.
So what is that?
Well, in my head,
evoke?
I have like flow, and I don't know why.
That's
but I feel
good.
like because
that.
we're about to speak about posing, I'm like, I have flow in my head.
I like
so I
flow.
feel like, yeah, that's my opening word.
Yeah, no, that's a new one. I love when somebody comes up with one we have never heard before. So that makes it more fun. Yes. So you've got big things going on the posing front, and you've been working really hard. So start by, because I have so many questions I want to ask you, including talking about the new division, talking about, how you go about posing. But I want to first talk about this big announcement you just made and what you've been working so hard on.
Yeah. So obviously what I had done, well, I've obviously been a posing coach now, like fully for about 5 years strong, which is, 6 years strong. And I created something called the Posing Portal in 2021, which was a online subscription base where people can book in sessions with me, send check-ins to me. There's a video library. So it's just basically a hub for posing. And the reason I created that was because I used to do, I think it was more COVID that allowed me to be like, okay, I need to find or figure out a source that can be more obtainable for people online for posing versus always being, restricted to in person. Because when I was in the UK, there were some weeks where I had like 20-hour weeks weekends, where I would have clients, about 20 clients in one, area of the UK. I'd travel to another area, and I'd become really exhausted, tired, because it's a lot doing in person. You know how it's like doing in-person stuff, so it's a lot. And then obviously COVID hit, we couldn't do a lot of in-person stuff. So I was like, what can I do instead? I was like, let's do online. And I found results actually so much better from online because they weren't allowed, I wasn't having to put them in place. They had to listen and they had to figure out, okay, what does put your hand mean there? Go a little bit to the right, go a little bit. And people were connecting more with their body versus being forced or feeling restricted to being in person, So that's when the Posing Portal was created in 2021, which was super exciting. And the recent news is that before it was website-based, now we are app-based. So we literally, a week yesterday, we obviously opened up the Posing Portal app live to everyone. We've had over 100 people sign up, which is really cool.
So cool.
So we're just going to keep growing from there. And I'm excited to kind of dive into where I want it to kind of go and stuff. But yeah, that's my big announcement.
It's so exciting because I feel like everybody really... we're all app-based. Like we want, the access to have it on your phone. So that way anywhere. So if they're practicing in the gym or if they're practicing, they don't have to go log into the website and things like that. So I think that's cool. And I know it was a big undertaking to get this app.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was, and the funny thing is because a lot of people at the beginning didn't realize, but everyone was like, oh, is it not that easy to get an app? And I'm like, no, building an app from scratch is like whole different ball game, which I didn't even realize until like a year and a bit in. I was like, okay, what have I just put my kind of life savings into? Is this even going to work out? I don't know. Like, this is pretty tough now, but I'm glad obviously it worked out, obviously. But I think the stress, I mean, obviously you guys have not seen the whole of 2024. That was probably the most stressful year of the app and stuff. But there was a lot of ups and probably more downs to the app actually being launched than there were ups. The ups have kind of only just come about the last kind of couple of months because it's been a stressful process, but it's been something that I knew investment wise and business wise, I can scale it in a way that I can, one, create a good business for myself, but also allow and bring on other coaches to be able to, for me to be able to mentor. So I can obviously allow the business to grow, but allow the posing space to become better, you know? Like, it's not just about the posing portal being, you know, the greatest, which is what I want it to be, but I want it to be a place where coaches can learn, clients can also learn, and they actually get the most out of their posing versus it just being sessions, you know? So yeah, that's my goal with it all.
I do think that, I don't know if you can kind of give a summation of it a little bit, but I know that transition from web-based or in-person based to then app-based is a big thing. Could you kind of give people a little bit of behind the scenes of what that looks like?
No, of course. I mean, going back to when it went from in-person to just online, I think was weird for everyone because obviously it was the COVID year, you know, like it was very strange because I think a lot of people were like very much dependent on having connections, and that's what people liked. They liked to be able to go to the gym, get the posing, you know, assessed and have that connection with me, versus now it's through a phone or it's through, you know, through Zoom. It feels a little bit weird. It feels a bit strange. So at first, I think it was people trusting the process of doing it online, because some people are like, oh, I'll wait until, you know, the world opens back up and I'll have the in-person. I was like, okay, that's fine. Some people are like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do online. And I think because people are used to certain things, I mean, I definitely was like, back then in 2020, 2020, there was only really in person. There was a few online, but I'd only ever have online if I was like, because I was only really UK based. I'm like, oh, I'll just travel to you, or they'll travel to me, because, you know, you could travel from the end of the UK to the top of the UK in 6 hours. Like it's big, but it's small. So I would rather see you in person versus doing an online one. That's the mentality a lot of the UK had. And I still kind of think they have that at the moment. Whereas I know the US, when I started to get more and more popular in the US, they're like, how can I pose with you? How can I actually work with you? Because I want to. And I'm like, okay, let's, you know, do online. And once I realized people were actually inclined to wanting to do online, I was like, well, why am I not just offering that anyway? Because I prefer online because it's easier for me because I can do it from my house, but it's also easier for you because you don't have to travel, and it's actually more beneficial because you have to listen to what I'm saying. It's harder work, which is harder for you, but it's going to be better result because you're not going to depend on me for in-person posing. So it was a big change, especially for people in the UK. I think the US adapted easily because they're like, cool, I can have connections with you now. But the UK, from going online in person to online, was difficult. But I think when they realised the results they were getting from it, I think it was the best thing. And it wasn't just an online session; it was online session and check-ins, a follow-up check-in. Like it was like every other week, it was a posing session. Wait a week, practice the changes, then send a check-in. I give you a video assessment, like those types of things. That's how I felt was the best method that I was getting the results from clients and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I went through kind of a similar thing with coaching. Like initially, I couldn't imagine coaching someone that I never saw in person. Like all my clients when I first started coaching were all in person. You know, we had a gym, and so it was that. And you know, and I just remember saying, you know, if there's somebody who wanted to do online, I'm like, oh, you can work with one of the the other coaches. And then once I started doing it and seeing how effective it was, and then the access that people have from all over the world, because, you know, I mean, I still have some athletes that will be nervous to do posing with a coach online, and you know, they'll ask, oh, is there somebody local? And the hard thing with that is sometimes I feel like people will hire somebody who's maybe done 1 or 2 shows. Maybe they're a good poser themselves, but they might not know how to teach, you know, versus, you know, hiring somebody no matter where they are in the world, and you can work with them online, and then have that person who really has the eye, who knows how to teach it, who knows how to take different body types and put them in the position, because it's a true art. So, you know, not everybody who's competed before is good. And even, you know, I mean, even people who are amazing at posing don't necessarily
know how to teach.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I think it's always hard when it's new, you know, because again, you always would prefer an online connection versus, an in-person connection versus an online connection because it feels more real. But I think, in my opinion, because I think I've had the question asked a lot, like, how do you make people feel, you know, connected or comfortable online? Because sometimes it feels different. And I just try and allow them to be vulnerable and like say it's okay. Like, you know, a lot of new timers will come to me or newbies will come to me and they're like, I feel embarrassed to show you. And I'm like, why? Because I've been here. I've seen how many, you know, posing routines and stuff like that. Everyone starts from somewhere. And I think allowing them to feel, because it's also very vulnerable, like posing and posing and flowing and transitioning and all that thing, it's all very awkward. Like if you don't know how to do it, it's awkward. So if they're coming to me not knowing how to do anything, they already feel embarrassed. So you have to try and allow them to feel at ease before you even start. And even people that are really good posers, like there's always something to work on. Like I know there's so many things that I need to work on and stuff like that, but you always have to feel, I guess, that comfortability of like, okay, it's okay that there's stuff to work on, you know, and stuff to do. So,
it's exciting to me when there's stuff to work on, actually. Like it's way more fun.
Yeah, because you can experiment, especially when when you toe pro, there's a lot more to venture. And that's you can express your creativity a little bit more, not too much, obviously, but like a little bit more where you can show off because you have the time to. So,
well, and I would think that something that you just said that I think, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to violate the lawyer rule and ask you a question that I don't know the answer to. But Phoebe, you're at the top. You're one of the best posers that are on the bikini, in the Bikini Federation or Bikini whatever division.
World.
Universe. Would you say that you still have stuff to learn?
Yes.
Okay.
I think everyone does. Like
I agree, and that's really the point of this. Is I think no matter how good you are at the moment, one of our sayings that we love is the best leaders are lifetime learners, and I think the best competitors are always wanting. It's less about looking for an edge and more about wanting to continually evolve and learn, and there's always going to be, and it may just be something that nobody else appreciates other than you, but maybe it's a mental cue, maybe it's something you feel, maybe it's some way
your
that you
body
approach.
changes, you know, like sometimes, you know, you have to change it, and as our organization or our sport evolves.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what I think a lot of people struggle with, I think, and that's why I created the subscription basis, which again, I think a lot of people were used to doing, you know, on payment wise, just doing one payment and being done and being like, cool, I've got one posing session with you this month. I'll now pay for another one in 2 months' time or something like that.
Right.
But I wanted to break that mold because posing is something you need to be accountable with from month to month as your body changes. I need to see your body as it's changing in an off season, in your prep, so I can see, okay, what needs to be changed? Does this footwork needs to be changed? Do you need to change your transitions? Do you need to do something different with this pose? And like, I'm not going to know that if I do one posing session with you the beginning of the month, and then, 2 months later, loads has changed, and I have to kind of now change a lot of different things as well. I think sometimes it's hard because people don't get that. And I know I really struggled at the beginning where people didn't trust the monthly thing because they're already paying for, an online coach. You've got a gym membership, you've got other things you got to pay for. So I know it's an expense. But I think if you invest, it's going to be the result that you want to come out of it, I know loads of people that have always said, I wish I invested in posing because my show, I was my best, shape, but I didn't look as comfortable. I didn't do this. And I'm like, that's the price you sometimes have to pay. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but what you invest, and it's not obviously, I say it's not a huge investment. Everyone obviously financially is always different. So I think it's always hard at the beginning to understand what is the priority. And I do think in a collective, it's not what's priority. It is posing, training, diet. Those three are the main things. Obviously there's other things as well, but I feel like those are the main things you have to focus on.
Do you find that when people don't continue to work with a posing coach in their improvement season, I've noticed that sometimes they get themselves to this place where they're over posing, for example, because they're not stage lean or close to stage lean, they can't see their tie-in. So maybe they're bending over too far or doing certain things and creating bad habits.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I think off-season posing should be posed how you are in prep anyway. And it's always tough because you don't see the lines and you're a little bit bigger, or a roll might be showing that you don't want to see, so you pose it differently. But you have to understand that it's your body is going to change. It's going to be different when you step on stage to what it is in off season. So don't try and overpose or do things differently, because you're going to create habits, and then those habits will go into prep and you won't be able to get rid of them easy. So then, yeah, it's going to be hard. So I think definitely trying to get out of that is, definitely something you need to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best reasons to have something like what you're doing, because that way you keep people in check. Because I watch athletes when they're checking in with me throughout the year, and I'm like, okay, you're starting to like vacuum, for example, because they're worried about, because the way the stomach looks. You're not stage lean. You're supposed to look like this. You're not like, don't change what, don't do something that's not going to translate to the stage, because then it's much harder for your body to break a habit than it is to learn it correctly 100% from the beginning. So, so I know it's so interesting, because now we've got Fit Model, which is just starting, which is
excited.
fun.
I'm honestly, we spoke about it in the car, but I'm so excited to see that division evolve and what it kind of comes down to. I'm excited to see what the Arnold's has it right this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
So I'm excited
for the amateur,
Yes.
I'm excited to see how it goes this year, and obviously what pro cards are then given out, because this is the first pro card they'll be giving out.
It should be the first pro card this year. I'm not 100% that it's at the Arnold. It might be Junior USA's that they started at, but I think they have it at the Arnold. I don't have anybody doing it.
I'm not too sure. That's why I asked, because I'm not too sure.
What the internet says.
I'm excited to see the first pro card given out, because I do think that will be very much the standard. Like, obviously,
like Francielli was when she won.
We've already seen obviously a few shows, which I think is really good, but it's obviously they're still very small. So I think once there's a pro card given out, I do think that we'll kind of have a bit more clarification of like, okay, this is what they really want,
I agree.
And I think there's been loads of different, obviously, opinions about it. Like, it's either a good thing or a bad thing, or they're in the middle. They're not too sure about it, which everyone was like that with wellness. They were like, this defeats everything that bodybuilding is. Like, it's not symmetrical at all. Like, it makes no sense, but it's now one of the most popular like divisions. So it's like, I think people just need to give it a chance and like see how great it could be. Because in my head, it's going to bring, regardless, it's going to bring in more money for the NPC anyway, for more people competing, which allows them to be able to do more for the actual federation, so we can have more within a production. We can give out more prize money. They can help the athletes more. And not just that, obviously, it fits more people, so more people can compete. So it's not, they don't think it's too much, or they have to, like we were talking about before, sacrifice everything to get just into one class. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing, honestly.
Yes, it is there. Oh, wait, no.
Will not be included. Okay.
Correct.
So Junior USA's will be the first pro card then.
First pro card. Okay, and when's that?
That is middle of May.
Okay, that's exciting then.
Yeah.
I think that's good though, because it's giving them a little bit of time.
And I think that's probably more why they did, is just give people enough time to, because I know they've kind of made it a little bit easier to go to nationals this year, just because
I think anyone can go, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they have to have competed in an NPC
last year
show. I believe they have to just have competed once, but there's no like placing requirement.
Yes. That's cool.
Yeah, and I don't even think there's a division requirement. It just you have to, what I mean?
Yeah, because obviously, if they've been something else, that's cool. Yeah. I like that. I think because it's allowing them to be open to the idea of, let's see what Fit Model is about. And I also like the idea of why they don't allow crossovers, because I think that's
it starts to blur the lines.
Yeah, it starts to blur. I think obviously, I've said to some girls, they're like, there's no crossover, so I don't know what to do. And I'm like, if you can, do Fit Model. If you don't like it, do Bikini the next show. Like, it's not like you can't do Bikini ever, because I think that's what the confusion was. They were like, that means I can't do Bikini ever. And I'm like, no, you just have to not be able to do Bikini in the same day. That's it.
Well, the cool thing is it gives people an opportunity, if they do want to continue to grow, then they can grow into Bikini, or just like if, Bikini, they start growing too much, they can grow into wellness or figure, kind of whichever, division fits that physique and what people want to look like. So exactly. I like having multiple options for the women. And I think it gives people a place to find where they fit, both in terms of where they like to have their body, as well as like what their structure's most
exactly.
So let's talk about Bikini. Let's just talk about Fit Model. posing. So there are some pretty big differences. So how are you seeing like the differences in the fit model posing, and what are some of the struggles that people are having in there?
Well, I know a lot of people are struggling with the two, the posing sessions I've had so far. The two main things are the front pose, which is obviously very different from what people have, discovered before, with it being more front on, they're struggling with trying to show off that front glute without it being too diagonal. So obviously if people know what FitBody pose is, it's obviously that back leg step back all the way onto that one side, twisting those hips round, but keeping the upper body round to the front as well. So it still kind of has that dynamic way of what Bikini does. So, standing on that one leg, hips to the side. It still has that same rotation, but they're still struggling because it's a different, like, instead of it being like this way, it's
angle.
that way. Yeah, it's down. So a lot of people are struggling with that because they're still kind of going to the side. And I'm like, no, because now you're showing off like your lower back, which we don't want to do too much. So a lot of people are struggling with the front pose, and then people are struggling with the transitions because they're like, do I stop? Because obviously on the NPC News Online, it says no transitions. So I think my thing at the beginning, everyone was like, so do I just stop and just go into back pose? And I'm like, no. So
we still want it to look pretty.
Yeah, we still want it to look pretty. And I think the reason they said no transitions is because they want less transitions. But I think even if you say less transitions, people will still probably do more. If that makes sense.
It does.
So,
and we see it.
So that's what I mean. So it's like they'll say one thing, but people will do another. So I think they kind of said no transitions, so people will limit their transitions, which is what they wanted, I think anyway. I don't know if that's true.
No, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, we agree.
I mean, if you're adding another, when you think about a show, and we've all been, you've been competing for 9 years, so you know this.
And you probably did the old.
Yeah, I did. My first competition was the fit model front pose. So
and you know that in the bigger shows, man, it's not uncommon to be out of there at 10:30, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. And that's just not a good experience for people. It's not a good experience for the athletes. The athletes want to get their feedback. The judges don't want to stay around at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night for feedback. And yet that's what we want.
I've been there to 1, 2 o'clock with Sandy before.
Yeah. we have been there. We have been there till the roosters are making their calls in the morning. So if you add fit model in, and then, when you think about a show with, you're adding a new division in, there's a time commitment to that, because then you have to go through novice, true novice, open, and then masters. And then if you don't limit the time and you give them each the same time on stage, you've now just extended the show out that many additional hours. So I think I think in general, there's going to have to be some guardrails in place, and just from a common sense point of view, because otherwise the shows are just going to keep going. Yeah. And there's got to be an end.
That was the first thing. I think I put it on my story, and I said, what does everyone think of this? And a lot of them were like, we're going to be on stage, or like the shows are going to be like 10 times longer. And I'm like, I think this is why, like you said, this is why they've put that in place, because yes, it will be longer, but they're going to need to limit it somehow,
Well, it's like on the Arnold, or on the Olympia stage, when we got the guidance this year, it was 45 seconds.
Which I love,
40 to 45 seconds. And I agree. And because when you think about it from the judging standpoint, and this is always the thing, is that everybody spends so much time in the individual presentation in terms of their focus. But that's not really where you're being judged. No. You're being judged in the call outs. So it's this kind of balance between what really matters and what doesn't matter, and what's the show and what's not the show, what's the competition part. And I do think the pageantry and the grace and the elegance of the individual presentation is important. I don't want to lose that, but I don't want that to be the main thing, because that's not the main thing. That's not where
you're trying to make the main thing the main thing.
That's exactly right. The main thing should be.
That makes sense though. Yeah. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
Totally
makes total sense. Yeah. But the thing I like about that with the 45 seconds, I think at the beginning, because I was there when they said it, because that was my first Olympia, and I was like, 45, it's my first Olympia, now I can't just do like loads, or like I can't like take my time. But if I'm honest, I'm glad that they didn't allow that, or allow it to be longer, because one, it was fair for everyone. Then it wasn't like everyone was just kind of like, one was doing 2 minutes, one was doing 30 seconds, or I don't know, like shorter. So it was fair for everyone. But then also like it allowed us to generally show off. I think then my mindset switched a bit more to actually, just show your strengths. Like it's not everything.
And that's really what the individual
the
presentation
longer you're
should
out
be.
there, the more they're looking
gonna
for
find
what's
I say
out.
this every time to so many people. I'm like, Sandy said this to me. She says it all the time in all of her seminars, but every single time I say it, she's like, I'm looking for your flaws. I'm not looking at what's good on you, because everyone looks their best up there. I notice what looks good, but I'm also looking at, like, that's the main thing, is the flaws. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, because why would you be like, oh yeah, she looks good. You would just be saying the same about everything. And then you're like, shit, what do I do now?
Right.
So I think they have to be that cutthroat with it, because otherwise they're going to put everyone as a winner otherwise.
And along that same line, I mean, we've talked to certain judges, and one of the things that we've heard them say is that when everybody comes out in their individual presentation, they all look like champions.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not where we're judging. We might be looking for flaws at that point, which I do think they are to a certain degree. But I mean, we've looked at the judging tables during individual presentation, and some judges are fixated on that. Some judges are, not, because they're just more focused on wait till they come out.
Yeah.
They look at that individual comparison round and then the call outs.
Right.
And the compare. And I mean, I think
I feel like by the time the comparison round's gone, usually they know
They
kind
know.
of who's
Yeah,
going to
they
be
know
in
the
what
stack.
call out. And then when people come out, do their individual routines, if they see something that they didn't catch originally, maybe they'll.
It's like a second glance.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a second glance. So I think I also like the reason, obviously I know we were supposed to talk about Fit Model, but we've just run into
That's okay.
But I
the title of this episode was Bikini A to Z.
A to Z, so we can
which
go
I
anywhere we
think,
want.
I think we're going to have to change it to Bikini/Fit Model A to Z. But
No.
I like it. But the reason I liked that so much is, and I had a lot of posing sessions with pros and stuff like that, a lot of the 2022 into now, and a lot of them are like, I've taken out that a pose at the back of the stage, which I think a lot of them really didn't like at the beginning, because they're like, I want to be on stage longer. But I even spoke to Gilco when I did one of my podcasts, and he says, there's no point you walking to the back of the stage and doing your pose as a pro and holding, because that's where the worst lighting is.
That's right.
You're getting further and further away from the judges, really. So it kind of becomes a little bit blurred. And in my opinion, I feel like I always want the routine to flow, so it keeps kind of flowing. And I feel like when we do that, because even I look back on my old routines and stuff, because that's what I used to do, I see it stop. Like, it's like pause, and I'm like, oh, like the flow's gone now. Like you've lost that kind of like nice feminine side, because it just feels like it's stuck and stopped. So I've taken out a lot of those walks to the back. I like the walk to the back and then turn around. Like, I like that kind of mannerism because it keeps the routine like alive, I think. So yeah, I've enjoyed the change in posing style, because I think it's changed loads. It used to be,
Yes.
I remember going into the pro league being like, right, I can make my routine as long as I can. Now I'm like, okay, 40 to maximum 50 seconds, and that's fine. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree. And I mean, we don't want to bore them either. I mean, like, that sounds kind of bad, but at the same time, like, when a judge, especially some of these bigger shows where there's multiple pro divisions, I mean, some like Tim Gardner, some of his shows, there's 250 to 300 pros walking across the stage. I mean, and they're judging an amateur show too. In some cases, they're also doing like an regular amateur one day, a natural amateur the other day, and then 6 pro division. I mean, that's a lot of bodies going across the stage. So, I mean, come on, the judges are human.
Yeah.
and there is another element of this, which is the athlete experience. And we've talked about this a lot. Go ahead then. If you're,
no. I was gonna, to be fair, I was gonna say something slightly different to that, but I was gonna say the entertainment aspects.
Yeah.
Like, I look at it as like it's a performance, and I'm the entertainment. Like, there's people there coming to watch. There's people there coming to support. Put on a show for you and them. That's what I like to look at the individuals is like trying to perform. We're obviously within the criteria still with everything in place and stuff, but I like to have that flair there, if that makes sense, versus it being, okay, I just have to do it for the judges. I'm doing it for me and for the audience and stuff like that. And then obviously the judges part, in my opinion, is obviously the comparisons, all those types of things.
Well,
I agree. The individual routine is very much for the audience and the friends and family and things like that, which I know some of the shows they've even gone to having the individual routines only at the night show.
Yeah.
So I've seen that with some of the pre-judging. They won't even have individual routines. They'll do the judging, and then at the night show, then everybody gets to come out and do their individual routine.
And the only thing I guess I would add to this is, if we think about this, we think about the business of this, we talk about this a lot, is that the athlete is the customer. which is different than any other sport. In the sense is that the athlete's the one that is paying to compete in the amateur leagues. They are the ones bringing in friends and family to look at them. Other than the Arnold and the Olympia and a few other shows, most of the audience is going to be comprised of people that are there to root their athlete on. Even to a certain extent, the pro shows that are attached to the regional
local shows.
Yeah, and so when you think about that, this athlete has gone 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever their prep is, and then you're not going to allow them to show or to put on the show. That's not a good experience for them. It's not a good experience for the people that are coming there to support them. It's like, wait, where's my daughter? Where's my son? I don't get to even see them.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be that element to it. And I do think in those circumstances, the shows that we've been to where they do, I personally like when they do the judging all in one setting. So there's no morning and evening.
That's
I like
what they do in Europe. They do that a lot in Europe and the UK. So I know it's not more Americanized. I think it's everywhere now. But I think Europe, we would usually do everything at once, where it'd be like, they'll do bikini, they'll go, I think it was like junior, masters, novice, junior, master, and then I think they circle back around and do their awards straight away. So they then do novice, and then they do
shows like that.
Yeah, and then they do open, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, all that type of stuff. And then they circle back around. They'll give it obviously around 20 minutes or so in between, and then they'll circle back around and then go from A.
And we like the shows. I think Tim Gardner does this where he'll do, well, and some of the muscle contest shows. Well, I can't remember who does this, but where they do a men's portion in the morning, and they do all the men's judging, and then they do
Spectrum.
Spectrum does that, and I really like that approach because we often talk about as parents one of the most struggle that we had the most was when our son did swim team, and the part of it is that
he did water polo.
Yeah, he did water polo, but he had to do swim team to be on the water polo team. And you're there in the stands for hours to watch your child
8 to
perform
10 hour
for,
day to watch. They only do like 1 minute each round, and they might do 2 or 3 rounds. So you're there for like, you know what I mean? But it's very similar to bodybuilding, though, right? You know,
it's very much similar to bodybuilding.
True. It's very true.
Because the friends and family come, and like, especially for that, amateur athletes, you don't necessarily know exactly what time they're going on. So it can be,
I do think that would enhance the muscle wear is kind of set up to do that. If they would do it a little bit more timely, I guess. Sometimes the alerts come a little bit later, but just having that predictability of, okay, I want to go support my daughter, my son in the show. I know they're going to go on between the hours of 2 and 4. I'm going to be there for their, they're not thinking this, but I'm just thinking of this in terms of the appeal, because there does have to be some element of athlete experience, and part of that athlete experience should include the fan experience, and I would say the family experience, that people that are supporting you, because as we talked about in the first episode with you, getting that circle of support is so important in this sport, and so if you can engender that in the competition itself by making it family friendly, by making it more accessible, by giving athletes predictable time so they can plan their post-show meals or their post-show gatherings and still get feedback. I mean, I think those are the things that will make, and I do think the sport is evolving that way, because I see those movements every year, that there's more advancement in that. I think you've got to treat the athlete like a customer, and you've got to then orient the show around how is that athlete experience. It's why you would shop at one store or another, because of your customer experience. So how many times if you go buy a car, you're going to get 12 customer service surveys, right? How do we make this sport more accessible? You've done that with the app. I'm bridging now into the app, but the app is really about accessibility and meeting the people where they are. So I think that's got to play over in the show. And we're getting off topic because we're talking about shows and we want to talk about the app. Sorry.
You got a frog in your pocket?
Yeah. Her name is Jami.
I like it. No, honestly, and yes, going into app stuff. That's why I wanted to create it, and I think I wanted to have it so it's literally like a posing coach in your pocket. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's on your phone. It's easy to use. It's not something that's, like I said, difficult to maintain or to access. And that's what I wanted it to be. We've got loads of different features on there. Well, the main thing is obviously the video library. We've got loads of different sections on there. At the moment, we're only covering bikini, wellness. We're doing Fit Model in March. We're going to have a stretching routine over in March as well. Doing a posing podcast so we can do, show day reviews and kind of talk about discussions within the shows and stuff with different people, obviously the coaches that we have on there and stuff like that. So we're really wanting to make, and accessories, that was another one, like accessories, bikinis, like stuff about everything with.
And you've got a community
yes,
component as well, right?
I didn't even know. I completely forgot that one. So but we've got a community aspect as well.
Because I'm so much about that. Like I do feel like it's a huge part of what makes us successful, like makes or breaks us is can we integrate into this bodybuilding community? Because I know for us, it's really our friends, they're our family, like it's our community. And I feel like that's what keeps people for the long haul in the sport.
Interested in changing your life or stepping on stage? Join FitBody Fusion today.
Experience the FitBody Fusion difference with tools, knowledge, and community support to reach your healthy and sustainable lifestyle.
We guide thousands on their fitness journeys, from seasoned athletes to those who are simply seeking a healthier life.
Our expert coaches provide personalized plans and unwavering support, empowering you to thrive.
FitBody Fusion is more than just training. It's a community. We understand the challenges of solo fitness journeys, which is why we foster a supportive environment where members encourage and motivate each other.
Join the FitBody Fusion community today and unlock your full potential.
Head to fitbodyfusion.com to sign up for a free consultation.
And do it today.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, especially from a business view, obviously FitBody Fusion, for example, not even just you guys, but online coaching in general, you have a team. So it's very easy to be like, we're a team. You can communicate with anyone that's in the team and you can create friendships very easy from that, But I think for me, what I struggled with is obviously I was a posing coach, I had people from different teams. So it was hard to bring everyone together because it was a case of, they're on a different team or doing just something differently. So I wanted to try and, how can I do that without it being, I'm taking them away or doing this. So I thought the community aspect, the community page would be somewhere, one, where people can ask questions and I can answer. People can also chat with one another whilst they're on there, ask about people's shows. Because I know as time goes on, there was a few times where some of my clients were doing the same shows and they were like, she's part of the posing portal as well. They take pictures and I'm like, that's so fun. That's so nice. So it's nice as a business owner, that's what I wanted for me, because I know I've been part of that before. I wanted to create something like that for myself. So, but no, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be, and like we were discussing before about the transition from each kind of, part, obviously from in-person to web, from web to now the app, I think, but yes, it will still be a struggle. Obviously, it's only been live a week, so I don't know the struggles yet, but I think it's just this trusting aspect of people understanding it is going to be something that is going to help them level up their posing. And it's not just going to be another gimmicky thing where, I'm trying to take money or anything. It's something I really want to try and make. You
want to provide value and a good experience. Yeah. It goes in with the experience. You want to... Everything's about experience these days. And that word, I don't think it gets overused, but I do think I don't think people think about, they use the word without necessarily thinking about what it means.
Yeah.
And I do think, I suspect, just knowing how technology works, is that as the platform grows and evolves, and there will be those days, there'll be those days it'll be down, whatever, you get that call. We've had that experience with our platforms, and we, in fact, we just migrated our platform over to a new one, and man, that's been
migration. Is always a challenge.
Been a challenge, and worthwhile, but it's the short term pain for the long term gain. And I don't know if I just pulled this up on my iPad, but the posing portal on the App Store. So I don't know if you can zoom. I don't know if you can zoom on that, but I do love what the posing portal app is. More than just a booking system. The first of its kind, an app that has it all to improve your stage presence. Book your posing lessons with our coaches. Submit your posing check-ins for accountability. Meet like-minded competitors and update the community on your progress. Plus, unlimited access to our entire video library covering everything from posing tips to mindset, styling, and beneficial beneficial stretches. Flawless posing and stage presence is a huge part of your bodybuilding journey. So join us. It's time to pose like everyone is watching.
The way you said that in your like, you have a very presenting voice. That's really cool to hear it from that aspect, because obviously for ages they were like, what do you want your description to be? And if it's funny, that description took me so long to write, because I was like, what do I want to say where it's going to captivate people? Because that's my time to kind of really draw them in. Like if someone like randomly types in the posing portal, they see it, they don't know what it's about. Like that's the description, you know? So like I need to kind of captivate them from the beginning. So yeah, that was really nice to hear that. Thank you.
And I love when my athletes have been part of the posing portal, because it makes my job so much easier.
And that's another thing for me. I like, especially I've had to create relationships with a lot of, you know, online coaches and teams, because they want to make sure that they're sending their athletes to the right person, right? So I understand that, but it's not a case of I'm taking your clients away from you, or I want to make your clients better on stage. You know, like you're putting your all into doing your job, which is the coaching side of things, the getting them ready. And part of that is obviously stage presence, but you guys know stage presence, obviously, but you haven't got time to do that for every single one of your athletes, to pose every single one of them individually.
We have time, but it's the question of what's the highest and best use of that time. And so, you know, the analogy I would make is pro football. I'm sorry to use a football analogy, but in football, there's a head coach, there's an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, there's an offensive line coach, there's a quarterback coach, there are tight end coaches, wide receiver coaches, running back coaches. There are different coaches for discrete disciplines as part of that. And then there's the head coach that is kind of managing all that. For us, when we don't have to manage that detail, it allows us to focus on the details that we are. It just allows us to be more discreet with how we're coaching somebody, versus if we have to cover everything, we can. We're full service, but it's just a question of what's the highest and best use of our time, and what's the highest and best use of your time.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is that the way you have it designed, it so that people don't stop practicing or stop, because usually our focus with posing, you know, is like that fine tuning at the very end kind of thing. But with what your program does, people aren't. There's not like a gap. Where, you know, they're just not practicing for a while, then they're super rusty, or you know, they wait till the very last minute, and now you're just having to kind of just bare bones try to get the poses right.
That's
and you don't really have time.
That's what I want it to be. That's why I created it, all the different levels as well, the different memberships, because I know obviously posing is an extra payment, and I know that's always hard for people to have to do, and I always appreciate obviously when people do pay for my services, because I'm like, you're paying me to give you this knowledge, so I take that very seriously. But that's why I created different levels, because you don't have to go, it's this and that's it, and if they can't afford it, they can't afford it. That's hard for me to hear that, because obviously they want my services but they can't afford it. That's always tough. So that's why I created these different services, bringing on different coaches that are slightly cheaper as well, so they can still have the posing portal experience, and still not, you know, be like, I want to do it, but I can't, you know? So yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see where it flourishes and where it can go and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting to kind of see. It's only been a week. It feels like it's been ages already, but it's only been a week since it's been up. So yeah.
But you have all the experience from the website before.
Exactly.
So it's the app that's really like.
I already have so many things that I'm like wanting to do differently with it. And like, I already have, I mean, me not being able to sit in the moment, and I'm already thinking about literally this time next year, what I'm doing and stuff like that. So I'm already like, oh, we're going to do this promotion. My assistant's like, Phoebe, just like focus on today, like focus on like what you're doing now. And I'm like, I find that very difficult, so I apologize. But no, I'm excited to see it flourish. It's but
it's that visionary mindset that you have that brought you to this point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, had you not been able to like step back and imagine what it could be, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm excited. And I think at the moment we're discussing obviously having a look at, you know, different, like at the moment we just have for the videos, like I said before, the bikini, the wellness, we're bringing fit model on, and we're only just going to kind of develop and kind of add in more. Because like I said, I want it to be inclusive. At the moment it's only female. I want it to be, you know,
I have an idea.
Do you have figure 2? Or is it just
no,
not
but
yet?
we are fingers crossed, hopefully going to be bringing that in a couple of months' time. So that's going to be
And
fun.
I have an idea for you, but I'm going to share it with you off camera.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, man,
I'm
you're
always
just
open.
teasing everyone.
I know. I love it. I'm someone, I think at the beginning of my journey, I was very much, when I created my business, I'm sure you guys are the same. You only hear your ideas, or you only want your ideas. I think for me, I'm very much the person that I've had to really I want to be open because,
She's the same way.
I want to be open because I want to know what's going to be more valuable, what's going to work and what's going to not. And there's only so many ideas I have, even though I have loads, I want to see if they're actually good or not. And that's something I've had to really learn as a business owner, to be like, we don't have to do it my way. I can experience and do it a different way and ask to what's going to be better, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'll share it with you off camera.
exactly.
And the only reason and I'm sorry, everybody, I don't mean to tease this, but I want to share this with you because I don't even know. It's a spaghetti on the wall type of idea, but Jami knows that I'm like
he is. He's
likes
my
the ideas.
abstract thinker. I'm the very, you know, and he's the,
I'm the art of possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that so much. But yeah, I'm excited to see how, like we were speaking about before, how just the division in bikini, like the posing, will evolve. And I don't think it'll evolve too much differently, but I can already see a different switch where it's more out there without it being too much. You know, it's not too flamboyant, but there's more presence to it. Like more,
I do think, I'm glad you talked about that, because I do think that's been the evolution of the sport, is that, and I do think that's why a lot of people on the outside looking at the sport might get a misconception of what it's like. And so, yes, you're in a bikini, and honestly, that bikini is pretty not a lot. I mean, it's fairly revealing. Okay, well, not fairly, it is revealing. Okay, let's be honest about that. And the sport is about power. It's about fierceness. It's about, I mean, in the female division in particular, it's about female empowerment. It's about showing that physique that, you know, men's bodybuilders never have complained about posing in a Speedo for years, right? But they pose in that so you can see the physique development as part of the sport, same way that the bikini is. And it's moving away from being sexy, salacious into power, empowerment, physique, athleticism. It's really that emphasis, and there is a balance between those two, because you still want it to be you still want to enhance and call out the femininity of it, but you don't want it to be, you know, this
crossing
is
a line.
I hate to say it, you know, it's
because
not
there
a
is.
night at
Deja
vu.
Because one thing I say, and Sandy says it all the time, and so does Becky, they don't want too much. They don't want it to be too much to the point, because like you said, it's already quote unquote revealing enough where we don't want our sport to be going in that direction, because it's that's not the reason. And that's always the hardest part, is trying to navigate that, because people that don't feel quote unquote sexy or don't feel feminine doing it have to kind of put on this facade. But I also say, kind of do what actually feels good for you. You know, like
yourself.
I wasn't at the beginning, I wasn't a sexy, sultressy, you know, kind of vibe. Like, for example, when I say that, I think of Maureen. Like, she's very, very like sexy, sultressy, but that comes very natural to her. If I was to say to someone, right, you have to look like this, and they feel very, very uncomfortable, you're going to see that in their posing, because that's not who they are in terms of presentation. Like, they don't feel comfortable doing that. So it's as a coach, you really want to, it's the same as you, like with online coaching, you have to know what the athlete is comfortable with doing, and develop it from there.
And I would add, and I'm sorry, I would add one other thing, is that the posing should never be more important than your physique.
Yes.
And so part of the
posing's the idea. The posing is to emphasize your strong points and hide your weak points.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you and we will say this, is that I will take somebody who has higher energy in a posing presentation, but it's not technically as proficient, versus somebody who's technically proficient, but there's no energy, there's no feeling, there's no emotion to it. And you don't, I know we can agree to disagree. And I want the posing always to be a showcase for the physique, not to be about, hey, I'm here to put on a show. I'm not really caring about my angles or what best showcases my physique.
Yes, because one thing I always say, like, and I see a lot of amateurs do it, and then even the same with pros, is like a hair flick, for example.
Yeah.
So like,
and it throws them off balance.
People love, they think some pros actually thought it was a mandatory to have to do, which I was like, nothing's a mandatory. Apart from a front and a back pose.
Front pose and a back pose, that's mandatory.
Nothing else is mandatory. So you could literally, if you wanted to, for pros, do an NPC routine if you wanted to. Front pose to back, back to front, done. Like that's your routine, that's your routine. But it's about what looks best on you, like you were saying before. And I think it's always a case of, if I have to do a hair flick or trying to do a hair flick, like you said, doing the most when actually it doesn't look good or they can't nail it 100%. And I always say, like, if it's not, they have an idea of what they want to do, that's fine. If they can 100% nail it and it looks good and it highlights the physique, then yes. If it doesn't, then no. So like I take out however many hair flicks because I'm like, it doesn't look good. Your back's true shredded. It's now showing off something that might hinder you. So what's the point doing it? It's you don't, you're doing it. You don't feel balanced. It doesn't look as good. It looks okay, but it's not great. What's the point doing it, So it's trying to figure out what is the best for that athlete. And like, if they want it in, that's fine, but it needs to be spot on to be that,
I
Same with
could not
amateurs
agree
and
more.
stuff. So yeah.
People that want to do all the most.
Yeah.
And then
less is more.
Yes. And the thing is, and I love that you brought that up, you do not get extra points.
No.
Right.
For hair flicks, for anything like that.
I feel like you get extra attention for standing out, but that doesn't mean doing more. So like, for example, like Laura Lee, Amy, when they walk out, your eyes are locked on them because the way they move, the way that they just embody the category of bikini, that gives them the attention. It's not even like they're posing and doing anything different.
Physique.
It's the physique. It's also the way,
the presence.
It's an aura almost.
Yes.
Like it's a way. It's not even
it's
posing.
Confidence is a lot of it
that's
too.
hard to
It's
teach.
not just posing. It's stage. It's stage presence. I don't even feel like presence is the right word. I feel like it's something else, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, stage presence is. That's what
it's like a star quality, like when you see like a movie star or something that, there may be other actors that are better actors or more proficient, but then there's somebody that just has, there's just something about them. It's just that it quality that you can't articulate. Like there's not I know what you mean.
It takes a while to get there. And I think it takes experience in just doing shows over and over again, like stage time especially. And just like you said, confidence, a mix of everything. So it's a mix of knowing, okay, I know I need to show off my best qualities. I need to make sure my posing is good and I feel confident with what I'm doing. And I actually need to also believe in myself. So that's another big thing that I really take into account when I pose my girls is making sure they believe in themselves and they feel good.
Yeah.
Because if they could pose, but they could also feel absolute shit when they go up there and it doesn't, showcase off their qualities, So I feel like for me, I want to make sure as a coach, I can make them feel confident and comfortable with what they're doing. So then they can actually go up there and do their best they can.
I know it's funny. Sandy has said this multiple times and I see it and I believe it's so true is like when you see somebody and they're next up and they're standing, waiting to walk out. She's like, by then you can see on their face if they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. And if they don't, then it's almost like you think about the subconscious message that places in the judge's head of like, oh, maybe she's not ready or maybe she's not on point. Like she knows she's not. Or when you see that person who's ready to walk out and they're standing there and they're in their power, like they're feeling confident. Like there's just that thing. It's that it thing that you're talking about. And they walk out and they're captivating. You just can't take their eyes. And it is, I agree with you. As you and I talked a little bit about this yesterday when we were, that there's something about you have to keep going and getting on stage. Like you can have the best coach in the world, the best posing coach in the world. You can do all the things right, but there is like, I do think like having a background in something like cheer helps a lot because you've been in front of people. You talked about like the facial
for me.
Right. And especially for someone who's never done dance or cheer or any kind of performance type of art. And that's their first time to get on stage in front of people. Like some of it is you got to keep going and putting yourself out there and you will get more comfortable over time, even though, the nerves still kick in. It's a different kind of,
it's a different vibe.
Yeah. And the other thing that you said that was, funny, it just brought me back to when I was competing, on the pro stage. And at the time, like it was, even though I was figure, a lot of because bikini was coming more popular and there was like more of that kind of energy and every flair, a lot of the figure athletes were doing that too. And I was struggling because I I don't have that kind of.
Yeah, it's new to you, and it's probably new for a lot of people coming into like. Well, I've been in. Oh yeah, it's the same with you. We're in bikini I was in bikini for a long time, and I see things change or like trends start to come up, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I don't feel comfortable to do that. So you kind of have to learn it in a way.
Yeah.
And have to just, sometimes it's experimenting and just putting it out there. Sometimes you could hit a routine perfectly day in, day out by yourself, in seminars, whatever, and then it comes to stage and you botch it. And that is also okay if that happens. It's just a case of, okay, pick yourself back up, let's do it again, you know?
Well, we talked about prepared versus ready. I think we talked about that in the first episode, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we did.
And that's the key is that we talk about competing in a strategic way about, making sure that you're honoring the body and listening to it and doing that. But there's also that performance aspect is that the more you compete, the more comfortable you're going to get on the stage. You're never going to be ready for each show, but you're going to be more prepared the more you compete. And I think about, I was just thinking about Jordan, for example, is that Jordan is the more she competes, the more comfortable she gets on stage and the better she performs, the better she puts on a show. And it leads to that confidence. And I always think about Maria that posted a video on Instagram a while ago. But she had in that video all the stumbles that she'd made on stage, and how that was part of her growth and progression.
Well, you did one not too long ago too, where you showed like your.
I was in. That was at the back because I think that was Was that the same year? Because Amy did the same because we both laughed about it backstage. Yeah. So she was like, I screwed up my routine. I was like, don't worry, so did I.
It's so fun.
At the beginning. It was the beginning part.
I love when you guys share that though. Because I know like so many people look up to you guys and it's like.
Because they see the perfection.
Like, oh my gosh, they're so, but to be able to show like that vulnerability. But what I did want to finish my thought about, because I wanted to share this with you, is that, so when I was kind of going through that, I had an aha moment. And it was actually my mom said it to me because I was like, I don't know how to do that, like be cutesy and sexy or whatever. And she said, you have more of a graceful presence, so embody that. Let that be your thing. And so I just, what you said to me kind of triggered that memory and like you as a coach, like helping people find their persona. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't need to be like, because I know they'll look at whoever their favorite person pro is, and then like say, like you said, maybe they love Marine's persona. Yeah. But that's not natural for them. No. So when they do it, it comes off like inauthentic
or not bringing out that aura that we were talking about where it looks natural and it grabs the judge's attention without doing too much, without doing the most. Right. So it's a skill though. It is definitely a skill. Like it's something that you have to, it's experience. It's taking a long time to kind of like get used to it or do it, should I say. But if you're willing to invest, then obviously it will come back tenfold. So for sure.
I don't know if you know this about what big fans of RuPaul's Drag Race we are, but
yes,
okay,
I know.
so you
said it yesterday.
And you're going to experience that tonight, by the way.
I know, I'm so excited.
And one of the things with and I think about this with drag performers, but any kind of performance, I think about it as a trial lawyer, I think about it as a leader, is that the first rule is you got to be yourself. Mm-hmm. You cannot project something that is not you, that is not part of you. Yeah. And part of the bikini presentation, I think, is what's the story you want to tell? Yeah. What are you telling us about you and how do you want to come across? And so, and it's one thing to say, you can say, I want you to be fierce, I want you to be powerful, but you've got to then own that for you. And what does that look like for you? Because how it might look for you is going to be different than you or me. And well, me and my bikini fierceness is going to look very interesting.
It's next level. So, I mean, you might see it tonight. I mean,
I don't know if Phoebe's ready for that. We don't want to scare her away.
That's hilarious.
Hey, she might hire you for posing for
her.
You never know. I might be shocked and be like, right, you're on the team. Let's go.
That mental aspect of the posing, I do think that's harder to get to. How do you do that through the app?
So, like I said, I think my favorite part of the app is that aspect of the video library. So, like, we have videos where we can demonstrate and go through and give an educational aspect of things for people. So then people can learn a little bit more versus it just being, like I said, just being a posing session or assessment. It's like they have to kind of force themselves to go and learn more, It's not depending on me or depending on a check-in. They have to go out and themselves and actually learn more and sit there and watch videos about it and think. yeah. And if you think about it, like when you study, it's something at first is like a have to do, but then sometimes if it's something you're invested in and you enjoy it, it's something you'll then want to do. So then the posing aspect starts to become more interesting because you are then like, oh, I want to learn or I want to keep up to date. And, you know, Phoebe's put another video up now, so let's go watch it, you know? So it's trying to grab that I'm interested versus being scared about it. Obviously that scared and like nervous aspects is always going to be there because it's an uncomfortable and vulnerable situation to be in. But I do think it's going to be, it'll only get better the more you want to learn about it, you know? But it's hard. It's hard. So it's just about, it's consistency at the end of the day. It's the same with like when you're dieting or training and stuff, it's just consistency.
Anything worthwhile is going to take work.
Exactly.
Like
10,000 iterations, Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
And I do think about that is that, but there's a balance too, that sometimes I think people spend so much time posing that it becomes
analysis paralysis.
It really becomes it almost becomes a limiter, if you will, because then they're not, I think the bikini people, the athletes that I see that do the best balance the amount of time they're spending on practicing with the emotional side or the mental side of what do I want to convey?
Yeah.
What's the story that I want to tell, and focus on those elements of it to make sure they're bringing that up as well.
No, 100%.
Because it's got to be, as you say, you're a performer. You got to put on a show. That's Drew's famous saying, put on a show. Come on, let's go. You know?
True.
And I do think that's right, is that it needs to be a show. And when you called out Laura Lee and Amy, and they put on a show. Vanya puts on a show. I think, and there's a number of people, well, I think I think all the Olympians do that. And I think that's
part of getting there. I mean, it's like, how do you stand out enough to win that show to get to the Olympia? That's why once we get there, it's
exactly, because now it's open waters. Once you work so hard to get to the Olympia, now you've got to stand out in 60 of the best in the world or like 50 of the best in the world. That's a whole different ball game. So it's like, okay, how do I stand out without doing too much?
I feel like that's where posing, I feel like really can separate people, and that presence that you talk about. Because literally there's not a bad body on that stage. Yeah. So then it starts splitting hairs. It's like, what just drew your attention and drew your eye in, or what turned you off and made you not like.
And then also it's a case of try, like you said before, try not then overthink it, because then you take out that enjoyment aspect of like, I've just got to the Olympia. It's the best bodybuilding show in the world.
Stiff.
Like it's great that I'm here. So I don't need to almost like overexert too much to the point where I don't enjoy it, because this is an amazing, like, it's a really good moment for me. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, and enjoy it. So I think that's definitely, once you enjoy it, you also see that in posing.
Yeah.
And or you see, once you have had it, I say this with preps as well, you have a good prep, you have fun with your posing, everything in general, you'll be able to see that on stage. I think when you find things tough, things have been stressful, you can see that on stage. So I think it's just overall looking at how things can manage your prep and being the best prep possible for online coaching with the actual getting you ready, and then obviously posing and stuff like that as well.
And there's two things that come to mind. Is one, we both presented to large audiences over time. And I was a trial lawyer for years, and I think that we talk about this a lot, is there's times when we prepared for that and you write down everything. And when you write, and this is the over practicing or over posing, is that the people who are doing a presentation, I am very pleased to be here and thank you so much, versus, what we've transitioned to is, we'll write down maybe themes or words or something. Yeah. And then we're speaking more from the heart. And when you speak more from the heart, then it's just a better presentation. So that was one thing. But the other thing is that you asked a question, how do you stand out in a crowd? And I have a very easy answer for that, by going to the posing portal and signing up.
Yes.
So we missed that. We missed the tag.
Correct.
It was set up.
That's all you need to do is go to the posing portal. That's how we set up. That's how you do it. Yeah, no, 100%. I 100% agree, if I'm honest, because I do feel very confident in saying that, because I do think that I have created a way to really bring out everything versus it just be one posing session. And I think it's not just one posing session anymore. It is details. It is looking over all the little things.
It's a posing ecosystem is what you've built. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. I like that word.
I love that.
Yeah. I like that word.
Man, I gotta leave now, everybody, because
Yeah.
I hit a couple.
You're gonna have to
and
hire him. I'm telling you.
I gotta go. Well, wait till you hear my idea. You might.
I know. I'm really excited.
You
I'm like,
might
I
not be
want to know.
so that enthusiastic about. Well, maybe Greg, maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, I'm so glad we got to talk. And I know there's just so much more when it comes to posing, but it's so unique to each person. And I think, a lot of the things we talked about, hopefully people can, think about studying, reviewing, figuring out what works best for themselves, practicing, not waiting till the last minute. There's just so many tips hopefully people gain from the episode. And we're going to have our fusion hacks too. So watch out for those.
Yes.
Is it on Android and iOS?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on both. It's on both. So so you can do iOS or Google Store, and just type in the posing portal and it is there.
Right. And tell people how they can find you. I know. We talked
So
before.
same again. If you go to my Instagram page, which is Phoebe Hagan, everything is under there. So you've got the posing portal website, which is obviously description with all the coaches, not just myself. It's everyone on there as well. All the different memberships, the prices, and everything of what is actually included in the app.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, we're so glad that we got to have you here. Did
Thank
you have anything
you.
else before we close
Checkout
out?
word.
Prepared. I did think of that. Yeah, because I was like, I feel like that one was like kind of like windowed in at the last episode when I was talking about being prepared or ready. So that kind of, and when we said it now, like being prepared, I'm like, oh, I like that one. So
Okay.
prepared.
Yes. That makes me very happy. Ooh,
Yeah.
we're prepared.
I know. I feel prepared.
What's next?
And whether you are listening or watching, if you want to reach that next evolution of your posing and just build your own posing ecosystem, go to the posing portal, available on Apple iTunes or the App Store, or Google, the Google Store, right?
Google Play Store, yeah.
And then we can let everybody. Let
Apple
everybody.
people.
Oh wait! Before we
You can tell.
get
We don't know what it's called at Google Play Store.
before we get to the 3Bs, and if you want to level up on how we give you better content on this show, like, comment, subscribe, leave your reviews, and do it that way. And remember the 3Bs, everybody.
Be good to yourself.
Be good to each other.
And be safe.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBody Fusion.